We are recording. Oh. You all seated and comfy, yeah? Okay, right. So, today's episode 4 of our journey. Let me get...
Looks like the little one's working down here today.
What's that?
Looks like the little piece of electronics round the back there's working today.
Yeah, everything's well. Yeah, the blue lights.
Yeah. Oh well, perhaps that's 3 days on.
So, episode 4 of our journey. Today's episode is a interesting one. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think this could help.
That might not be for me then.
I don't know. We'll see. Actually, it depends how. No, because I reckon you could give some good advice. This is kind of what this is like. So this is going to be helpful for a lot of, not the younger generation, but people maybe between 20s and 30s, maybe older as well. But we'll be talking about relationships. And someone
Don't
who,
have them.
well, I mean, you was in a very long one, wasn't it? What, 50 years?
Yeah,
55?
53.
So 53,
Somewhere around about there.
what, 50-year marriage?
I was 25 when I got married.
You got married. How long was you seeing Nan before that?
Probably 2 years.
2 years. So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's,
50 odd years. I don't want to do the maths on that one, but so I suppose the first question that, well, a good place to start would be, I know how, but to the audience, how did you and Nan meet?
My dad was working for a garage, Grandeurs, and there was they had several garages, and there was 2 girls working on the forecourt of one of the garages, and they used to have a party each Christmas, and my dad asked if I'd take one of them to the do. And I was supposed to be going with the other girl, but I took Chris instead.
So did you say to the other girl that I'm not taking you, I want to go with her, or was it just
I can't remember really. I think I just picked Chris up and that was it.
Oh, right. I didn't know if you rejected the other girl and
No, she found somebody else, so she was
oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
So what was this Christmas party, like a dance sort of thing, or was it like a...
No, it's just a party that Dano used to throw. Back in that time, most places used to have just a party sort of thing, a drink up, and that was it.
Yeah.
Might have music and sandwiches, but that was just a norm for biggish firms. But yeah, that's where I met her.
So then obviously with in today's society, when you meet someone, you exchange numbers, etc., and contacts and stuff. How does that sort of thing work with obviously back in the day? Was it because also you met her and then took her out? Then how'd you go from there, sort of thing? If that makes sense.
There was no phoning.
Yeah.
no mobile phones about then. Or if they did, they was like bloody great big boxes you used to carry around on your shoulder, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But no, you used to go out and you go somewhere, and then you make arrangements to see them again, and then you go back again, and it's just a matter of making arrangements.
Oh, so you just say to them that, do you want to meet up next week at this place, etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'll pick you up at, etc.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you just make the arrangements, and yeah, she used to come round my house, and I used to go round hers, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's But nowadays, everybody just rings up.
or
And that's it.
or text, etc., and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So, what was your first impression of Nan then? Let's take by first impression. Let's take the first month of impressions because obviously, and they're both positive and negative.
I suppose really when you think back on it, you can't really remember what made you think that was the one that you wanted to go out with at the time.
Mm.
You know, it could be the fact that I had no mates at the time, I suppose, but that's just a joke sort of thing, you know, because you always had friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, something just clicked and that was it. But
So,
she was a wayward person. She was nice to be with because you never knew what was going to happen. Yeah.
so there was nothing that you can remember like straight away where you like oh god, this person's mental, or oh she's like this, etc. Or
Well,
do you know what I mean?
No, everybody used to be basically the same. You could never guarantee that everything was going to run smooth.
Mm.
It was just the fact that you was there with that person at that time. But yeah, if things went smooth, then you normally went on to somebody else. That's what my mates used to do.
So I suppose there was a follow-up question to that, but actually this can work on to this one, which was how would you describe your relationship / your dynamic with Nan?
I don't think you really. You don't really want to push anything. You just act as yourself, and if the other person didn't like it, well then, that when we was youngsters, you used to tell them. But it seems to be now that they throw things at one another.
So you'd say you were both sort of your own people, but
yeah,
as a collective.
that's it. You both done what you wanted to do, but you always met somewhere in the middle when you was on your own. But yeah, used to be good times.
And did your Nan dynamic change much as you got to know each other more and throughout the years, and as you both grew as people? Obviously everyone grows as they get older, and mindset changes and things.
Yeah, you change your way with one another, and you work with one another to make it a good time for all. And then when the kids come along,
well, I suppose that's a big change, really, isn't it? Yeah,
you have to change again.
Yeah.
But yeah, you work. If you don't work with one another and you can't work with one another, then you're in stuck. And but we seem to have more time for one another when you're on your own.
Yeah.
Than what you do when you're mixing with people. It's just one of those things. You grow, and as you get older, everything changes.
Yeah.
But you change, hoping it's going to be for the good, and you both change. You can't say you're never going to do it because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got on all right. I'd done as I was told, and that was it.
That's so she was the boss then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She used to do. She was the organiser.
Yeah.
And then she'd tell me what I was supposed to be doing.
Because like that change of having a kid. I saw something the other day that was where the real test is when you have the kid, like between the marriage. Like it's a lot more not smooth, but it's beforehand But because a lot of marriages
Well,
break down when you have one.
Yeah, sometimes it is smoother afterwards, and sometimes it's smoother before. It's all according to what the people are like.
Mm.
The woman in the family, no matter who they are, if they're the wife or what have you, in our time it used to be that they always used to look at the children first.
What, the women in the family look at the children first?
Yeah, or the female of the family would look at the children first and make sure that the husband done the washing up. But you could feel pushed out when a child comes along. But if you're together with the person that you're with,
what, the man could feel pushed out, or
yeah, the man
or
could
either
feel
or.
pushed. The man could be pushed out. But if you work with one another, that will go away. You won't feel pushed out anymore.
I suppose it's about having that communication and
Yeah.
that bond. So is that why as well? How long was it until you had kids? So you got married, and then
It's about 2 years.
about 2 years after marriage.
Yeah.
So would you say it's this might seem like a bit of a stupid question, but would you say it's a much better idea to wait a few years after marriage to have a kid, or does it not really matter? Because obviously having that communication and bond.
If you've got a child, to me, and looking at other people, if you've got a child when you're married, and it's between the pair of you, then you feel like the third party. But if you have it and you grow living with one another, you get to know what their outlook in life is.
Yeah.
And then when the child comes along, then it can be brought in easier
Yeah.
than what it is if you've got one and you've got to settle yourself down that you're living with a person now. You want to buy a house, or you want to buy a new car or something like that. You've got to look at having a third person, but you can do that when you make the decision to get married. And eventually everything hopefully works out.
Yeah.
You know, it's but sometimes people want to have the children first and then worry about what's going to happen afterwards.
Marriage after, yeah.
You know, it's
I suppose it really depends on the people, doesn't it?
yeah. It's
Because
the
everyone's
attitude.
different.
It's the attitude of people. There's a difference between courting somebody and living with them. There's a difference between the two. One, you can walk away whenever you want when you're courting. When you're married, you've got to think of the other person. Or you should think of the other person.
Yeah.
And that way then you both grow together. But sometimes it doesn't work. Most of the time it does.
Yeah. And you saying there, like, with marriage, you can't exactly just walk away from the other person. I do think in this day and age as well, I don't know what it was like back in your generation, but people nowadays seem to not know how to say no. So then they get into a marriage and then they're like, shit, I don't want this. I should have actually, unfortunately, said no, which is quite sad to think about. And then they have to, because marriage is, in essence, a contract, and you've got to go through the whole divorce thing, which can take years and years and years, and money and money and money, all because either party didn't say no.
That's right. You know, and if you've got children, it makes it worse.
Yeah. Because they're the ones that miss out, normally.
They're the ones that don't get the idea of it until later on in life.
Yeah.
They'll just be
they get confused and everything.
youngsters, and they just see people arguing all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't help them at all.
It's a split household, and
Yeah.
especially then if you introduce a step parent, they then got to build a relationship with that, and then say for instance that doesn't work, they could then have to build another relationship, you know, and it does confuse them sometimes, depending on their age as well.
Yeah, and they also then they get an outlook on life which will be, this is the norm.
Yeah.
But it's not the norm.
Mm.
You hope the norm is going to be everybody gets on well with one another.
You settle down forever, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, as someone who was in a marriage for over 50 odd years, what do you think is the problem with today's relationships and how people go about them?
I suppose in one sense, really, it's mechanisation of computers and such forth like that. People go on them and think that is what can be done. But when I was young, then you got to know the people rather than getting to know through something you see.
Right.
Because that doesn't work with everybody.
Yeah.
You've got to work it out with the person that you see. But nowadays, computers, television, you name it, then you can see something and think yourself, oh, I can do that. But you can't. Because the other half doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know. And you've either got to do things on your own or do things together. That can work as long as you don't try and bring in pieces that you've seen. Oh, yeah, that's all right, you know, I can do that. But it's whether the other person wants to do it as well.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're going, like some people want to go out all the time, other people would rather stay at home. Some people want to go down the gym, the other one sits there and thinks, what the bloody hell are they doing that for? You know, it's not worth using all that energy. I'll walk round the block, you know, or take the dog out for a walk, or, you know, go do your own thing. But you've got to incorporate that into the whole thing, the whole scheme of everything, you know.
I do think social media has played a negative part. One of the main reasons for that is because you're with someone. So, for instance, you're with someone, and you see someone post on social media. They'll be like, "Oh, why isn't my boyfriend doing that for me?"
Yeah.
Or, "Why haven't they taken me to there?" Like deep down, they're thinking that, and then they go.
You know.
For both male and female, why isn't my girlfriend brought me that, for example?
Yeah.
And then it creates, not like, maybe jealousy isn't the correct word, but you doubt you, and you're like, oh, I could maybe do better, because you see other people buying or doing, or I don't know, spending more time, and you think, why isn't mine doing that?
Yeah.
So then it creates that thing of I can do better, and really, actually, you're not looking at what you've already got.
That's right.
But because of the social media, it's making you redoubt everything.
That's what I mean when you see it on telly. A lot of people think, oh, well, I see it on the telly, we can do it.
Yeah.
But you can't. You know, it's whether the other person is interested in that sort of thing. Do they want to do it? Don't they want to do it? You've got to work as a pair. You can't just say, oh, well, I've seen it on the telly, we'll do it. But a lot of people now, they think that what they see on the television is what goes on. Yeah. You know, it's like sort of things like Coronation Street, programs like that. But you see them because I don't actually like them. I don't watch them.
Yeah.
Because they're not related to anything.
Mhm.
They always seem to be arguing with one another. Well, we never used to, we never used to argue like that.
Yeah.
And if you went up to London, the people that were in London, if you talk to the people themselves, not people that have come from a different area or a different life in a different world, then you can't do what they do. But if you're in if you went up to London to the East End, as long as you talk to the people, or you go down Yorkshire, Devon, Cornwall, anywhere like that, if you talk to the locals, it's totally different from talking to people that go into that area. All the people, and they all talk to one another.
Yeah.
But nowadays, because of mechanisation of different things, that's like going on the bus. You get on a bus and you see everybody, they either sit there with their phone in their hand, right, and don't talk to anybody. Well, when we used to get on the bus, everybody would talk to everybody else.
Yeah.
And people would integrate with one another. But nowadays, it's a matter of, oh, somebody's rung me, so take your phone out. Or we're watching a film at one time and you bring it up on your phone. No, there's a person sitting over there, but they ain't got, they're on the bus on their own.
Yeah.
Even if you say hello and goodbye, just the two things, the people respect that. It's like when I go shopping, go to Asda's, I won't do self-service. I go on a till, because you can talk to the person who's working the till.
Yeah, I've done that.
You get
the
a
other day
different
as well,
outlook
yeah.
on life.
Yeah.
They might be paid off, but you might be able to cheer them up for 5 minutes.
It's exactly like I was in I was up London the other day. I only went into the co-op to get a pot of fruit and a drink. Literally all I went in to get. And there's this poor woman who looked bored out of her mind. She's been standing at the till for ages. The only one on the till. Everyone was just going on self-service. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go up and go to her. Just to say hello and say, have a good rest of your day. And the minute I walked over, it was as if I was like the first customer of the day. Because her eyes just lit up, a smile went, and she started talking and stuff. And we only had like a 2-minute conversation. And then when I walked away and I said, oh, have a good rest of your day, like, I hope the rest of your shift goes well. Her smile just went bigger, sort of thing. And just be like, oh, that was probably the best interaction I've had all day.
When you walk round and you see these people stocking shelves, or they're going round picking stuff off for people to have home deliveries, they look absolutely bored out their brains.
Yeah.
And you can see why you get some of the stuff that you didn't really want, but they pick it up because it looks like
looks alright,
the one that you want.
Yeah, it looks similar.
So you just pick it up and you put it in a basket.
Yeah.
But they look absolutely out of their heads. I've got to pick this one up now. Oh, what's the aisle for this one? And, they just go round and fill their baskets up for the blokes to bring it round the door. But the person that probably gets the most enjoyment is the person who delivers it to the door.
Yeah, because they get to talk with the customer.
They get to talk to the customer, and the customer talks to them.
They get invited into to have a cuppa.
You have a laugh and a joke.
Yeah.
But, the other poor buggers, they look absolutely out their heads, they just don't want to do anything,
Yeah.
And you wonder why people get bored with the work, and they get the hump Well, once they get the hump, they get the hump with everybody. They don't just get the hump
Yeah.
with the person who's caused the problem.
It's every customer then, isn't it?
Yeah.
As I mentioned in, I don't know if it'd be last week's episode, but last episode anyway, we're doing Through the Ages, which is the picture showcase, and we'll be doing that maybe not every episode, but most episodes, just as a halfway segment, break things up. So I have 3 pictures here from the Lucky Dip, and the first picture we have is this one.
What's that one? That was my mum.
Is that you and your mum?
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my shorts.
Do you know what year that might have been?
No. By the looks of that, I've got to be just before I go to senior school, probably somewhere between 5 and 10.
That's a bit of a rough ballpark, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, nah. It's, can't even remember where that was.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see that picture?
My mum. She was a nice lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very quiet. But she knew what she wanted to do. And if I was naughty, she could hit the lobe of my ear with a little flick of her fingers. She'd catch me. And it could be hours or days later, and that was because you done so and so. And then she'd go off laughing.
Yeah. So then the next one we have is this one.
Yeah. What's this? The grandkids, eh? They looks like Sam in the middle, and Chrissy, and I even had a bald head then.
So was that when Abby was born?
It's very likely. It's very likely. I can't see what was in the background.
But
Sam was a chubby little chap.
how did it feel when you first became a granddad?
You feel proud that, you know, your children are still carrying on, you know, the regime, shall we say. And it's, but then you think to yourself, bloody hell, now I've got to start doing games again, and playing football and learning people how to ride bikes, and, you know.
And getting asked to fix shit and repair bikes and...
That's it. You think of all the things that you used to do with your own children, and then when they get older, you think to yourself, I could go through all that again.
So it almost just comes back full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the last picture we have, 3 today, is this one.
Yeah, that was, I think that was down at Swanage.
That's with Sam,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, I look quite intrigued with something there. I don't know why, but...
It looks like down, what was it, a dockyard?
Yeah, it was, this was all boats tied up. People that come and you could have them all down here. These were ones that you could hire and row round the other boats.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was that on one of the caravan holidays?
Yeah, that definitely been one of them when we went away. Although I used to do sailing.
Did you?
During when I was at school, when I was at senior school. We used to...
like proper sailing, like big boats? Or
yeah, no. boats like these.
Oh,
this
like,
size.
yeah.
Well, actually, they were smaller than that. They was like halfway between this one and that one.
Yeah.
Because we used to go to Dagenham, near a place called the Roundhouse,
Right.
which was a hall, and I didn't find out till a few years later that they used to have wrestling in there, and we used to go as a family group. We used to have 2 cars of us used to go up on Thursday nights, I think it was, and they had it Saturdays as well, and they'd have the wrestlers in there. But the boating was from the school. There was a pond, well, a lake, and
Or was it a small pond?
no, it was a fair sized lake, and they had a boating sailing club on there, and we used to, as a school, they used to hire out the boats.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to like going with the what was he? He was the woodwork teacher. I used to go with him because he wanted to smoke his fag, but the headmaster didn't like him smoking in front of children. So they used to say to me, if that's what the headmaster's got, that's his boat over there. Whatever you do, I want you to stay on the other side of the island. He says, I'll never fag. And I used to sail near enough all the time we was down there, but other people had to swap over in their boats. But nobody wanted to go with him. But I quite
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. Was had by all then.
So when you heard about the wrestling, then you didn't swap over and start doing wrestling yourself?
Nah. It used to be comical, you know, because the ceiling wasn't all that high, and if they picked them up and done a body slam on them, they'd put their feet through the lights in the ceiling.
Well, on the back of this is August 2003, so I'd have been a couple of months old by then.
Yeah. Cool. Bloody hell. That must have been then putting her marks on it.
Yeah,
So we used to have some good laughs there. There used to be a lady there, an elderly lady.
What, the wrestling?
At the wrestling. And she used to get really into it, you know. She used to, I remember one night I think it was Sid was the bouncer's name. But he was about 7 foot tall and 7 foot wide. He was a massive great bloke he was. He was bigger than most of the wrestlers.
So he didn't get involved in it then?
Nah. He just used to throw the people out. He used to get in trouble, you know.
They tried to wrestle with him and he chucked them out.
And this old girl, she took a disliking to one of the wrestlers because there was a young fella just started, and this was one of the older blokes, and he really beat this poor youngster up. And when he come out, the elder bloke come out in the ring, she whacked him with a brolly. She kept whacking him with a brolly. She took the brolly away, and then she took out his hat pin and she jammed it in his arse. And Sid took away that. Then she took the shoe off and she started. In the end, he just picked her up and took her out. Yeah, she got really carried away that night. Yeah, it was a good laugh though.
How often would you go down the wrestling? Was it like,
sorry?
How often would you go down the wrestling?
We'd only go down once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just go once a week because nobody earned much money.
Yeah.
I was still at school then, and the people where we lived were all farmers, labourers, and didn't have much money. So everybody used to put their money together and
they go down there.
then we go down there.
That seems like quite a good laugh, that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I've got 3 or so more questions. Because obviously you got to pick up on here. Maybe annoying little sister from school. But so one of the questions is, looking back over your entire relationship, what does it feel like to be with someone for your whole life, building a family, a home? Because in this day and age, to a lot of people, that can seem almost outside the realm of possibilities, seem almost abnormal. So what does that actually feel like to you, having experienced that?
For the people now, like your age, it's nothing like we used to have, because we used to grow as a pair. But nowadays, it seems to be that you're separate, but you're together. And you know, lots of people, I suppose, late 30s, I suppose, up to sort of 50s. That's where it started to change over, and people are more individual now than what they are as a pair. But yeah, we used to make do with what we got and what we had. Nowadays, people want it now. If you want it, you go out and buy it. But with us, we work together, and then we've got what we wanted.
So there's no patience in that.
No. But that's the outlook in life, and it'll change again in probably another 15 years, 20 years. It'll be all changed again.
But how does it make you feel? Do you feel like a sense of honour? Was it a sense of pride that you was able to be with someone for all your life? Or? But in yourself personally?
Yeah, in myself personally, I wouldn't want to change it. Because I think that it was better our way than what it is nowadays. Because nowadays, it's too fast. Everybody wants to do everything now, straight away. Where we used to take our time and look at things at what we wanted to do and when we'd be able to do it. But that's just the generation that I lived. The generation that you live will probably think the same thing in 20 years' time. That, why did, my era was better than what this one is. It's just the way that it goes.
So what kind of advice would you give a young man in their early, say, 20s to early 30s about finding love and building a relationship?
Finding love, that would probably, some people do. They just see somebody and that's it.
It just happens,
yeah. But other people, they'll go out 2 or 3 times and think, oh, that ain't bad. I might want to spend more time with them. And that's what I'd rather have than, like nowadays, oh, well, I'm going to do this today, you can do what you want to do. And that is, I suppose you could put it as an attitude, but it's not really. It's just the way that life is. It's totally different, and us older people, we don't, most of the time, don't understand what you younger people want to do. So we just live with it and see what happens. And when people get in trouble, then you try and help them out. But if that don't work, well, it don't work.
So what advice was it like? Give one thing for a young man trying.
Take your time.
Just
that's all. Really.
So would you say don't go searching, just let it kind of find you?
Yeah. There's a lot more people of same sexes that want to be together than what there was in my early life.
Mm.
Mainly because it's more open now than what it was before. Some people flaunt it, but that puts up, because there's still a load of us around, that puts a lot of people in a position where, do I say something or don't I say something? Would I like it? Don't I like it?
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it's just take your time.
Yeah.
Find out what you want to do before you do it. Just don't jump in feet first and worry about whether your head's going to take it or not.
Mm. And then for building a relationship, someone in their 20s, 30s, they're in a relationship now. How would you say one piece of advice to make that strong? For just a man specifically.
No, you can't have it just for the man.
I know, because I was saying something that a man can do in a relationship for a piece of advice.
For both of them.
Because I have no women.
Whether it's a man or a woman,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You should treat one another as equal.
Yeah.
Because part of you won't want to do what a woman does, and the woman won't want to do what the man does.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to be able to find something in the middle that you both like to do. You know,
Compromise.
Yeah, in one sense, yeah, but don't compromise just for the sake of compromising.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason for it. You can't just give away your values just for the sake of compromise.
No, and for everybody it's different.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, oh, well, I done this, because it might not work. You can only say, well, this is what I think. You either take it or you leave it.
Yeah.
It's down to you then. But you can't, one piece of advice will probably never work
For everyone.
for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be taken
That's a good
as
point,
a pair.
actually, yeah.
You know, it's
Well, because I have to say, since asked, well, from a man's perspective, what's a piece of advice you'd give a young woman looking for love in the 20s and 30s? Or would it be the exact same thing for a man?
for a man and a woman, it should be the same.
So the exact same
because,
kind of principle.
because you're going to become a pair,
Yeah.
and the pair of you will have your own ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got to compromise between what you want, what they want, and you'll eventually come out with something that you both want.
Yeah.
But if you don't compromise, people get in a situation where they say, I'm doing this, and the other person doesn't like it. You'll never ever enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you compromise and people go out to play football or play cricket on a Sunday, but the wife doesn't want to go, well, fair enough, you compromise. If she wants to go to play badminton or netball, compromise is you have your days and I'll have my days. You know,
So
you're still doing both. You know.
Yeah. So you'd say.
But also you get two lots of different people seeing different people in the sense of, oh, you know, how's your family getting on? And then he goes, that might be the woman goes to netball, he goes to football or cricket, and you talk to one another, and then you come back, and all of a sudden you've got something to sit down and talk about.
Yeah.
Because you've got two different information from opposite families, you know.
Yeah.
And you can work that into your own family.
Yeah.
You know, cool, yeah, that was a good idea. You know, but if you don't compromise, you'll never get anywhere.
So you'd say for both man and woman looking for love, you need to find someone who is your equal, who is looking to bring their side and basically combine into
If you look at it as being equal, the possibilities are that you'll get head to head, right? Male, female, you'll get head to head if you're thinking of everybody as equal. One of you at some time or other has got to give in to the other one, and the other one's got to give in to this one.
Yeah.
And compromise in the middle of it, because if you that loggerhead that you'll find it happens in the middle, then it will always be there. It will never go away.
Yeah, I saw a thing the other day, and it was if a relationship's never really truly equal, but if you're, say for instance, one of you is taking off, you can't look behind and just basically say see you later. You've got to bring them up with you. Sometimes you have to not take a step back, slow yourself, but you need to make sure you're not going too ahead that you leave the other behind.
Yeah.
So you compromise in a way to then bring them not back up to the level, but allow them to support, allow them to be there, allow them to
you can
guide.
You can support, and the other person, I was just saying, if you go in sporting aspects, you can support the other person, vice versa, male or female, if they want to do it. If somebody doesn't want to do anything at all, well, it's entirely up to them.
Yeah.
The compromise is well, if I go and do it, then don't have a go at me.
Yeah.
You know, and when you, as I say, when you come back, you've got something else to talk about. It's like when you go to work. When I was in shift work, I see the same people every shift.
Yeah.
Every shift, somebody would have done something with their family
To then talk about
or on their own.
Yeah.
And they talk about it, and you come home and you can tell your wife that, you know, oh, so-and-so, you know so-and-so on my shift, yeah, well, we done so-and-so and so-and-so. Which means you have to make sure that you don't tell them the wrong bit. It's something that he didn't want everybody else to know.
Yeah.
She didn't want everybody else to know.
So I suppose my final question of the episode is, what does love mean to you?
That's an awkward one, that is. I suppose really when you think of it, in my case, would be friendships.
Right.
Love is being a friend of somebody else without having to look around all the time. You've no need to look, because you're friends with that person and you're in love with that person, so it's equal.
Yeah.
You know, friendship, I would say, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
And is that across all your relationships? You'd say it's the true love is almost friendship.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you're not friends, you won't be in love. And if you're in love and you're friends,
that's why a lot of people say that, like the people that I've spoke to who are in the strongest relationships, they say, I'm half my best friend.
Yeah. You know, it's you've got to be a friend to that person like you are a friend to anybody else. But that one is the one that you always come back to.
Yeah.
Because that one is the strongest. That's the strongest friend you'll ever have. If you don't see eye to eye, friendship, you can talk about it and you're still friends.
Yeah.
And you'll find a way of putting your point without annoying your friend. And you're still friends at the end of it. And that, to me, love and friendship are the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that is an awkward question.
It is, yeah. But I think it's a good one to end off on.
Yeah, it's, you know, everybody's, as I say, everybody's different.
It's a question where you might have a different answer to every single time you get asked it.
That's it. Yeah. It's like with these things. You can ask a question today, and you'll give an answer.
Then next time is.
But tomorrow, or even later today,
I'll come back.
you'd ask exactly the same question, but something will have gone into your mind. Oh yeah, so and so. So it'd be totally different. You know, you can never say this is exactly what happened because everything will change.
I think that's what makes a good question.
Yeah.
You can give it multiple answers for it. That's a good question.
Multiple answers all the time. You know, the question could be anything. Doesn't matter whether it's anything to do with something you know, something you don't know.
Yeah.
There'll always be something that's different in hours or days. It'll always be something different that you remember.
Yeah.
You know. It's like that photograph you had of me and my mum sitting on the wall. That's there's one upstairs where my stepdad, my mum and me, and I'm sitting on a full-size horse. But it's not a horse, it's a model.
Yeah.
But it's a full-size horse. You think to yourself, I don't remember where we done that. You know?
You
and
try to bring it back.
Yeah. And then you can never remember it, but I remember the people that are there, not the places.
Yeah.
You know. But Nan always used to know where she'd been and, oh yeah, we've been there before, or we've done this. To me, you know. If I go somewhere and I like it, I'll remember it. If I go somewhere and it's only mediocre, well then I'll forget about that.
Right.
But that's the way it goes.
That is the way it goes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that was episode 4. We'll have to leave it there because obviously you have to go and pick up Molly, the annoying sister from school, who I did say to her, please don't call until around 1:15, and it is what, 3 minutes to 1:15.
Yeah, well, I'll make it 4 minutes.
4 minutes to 1:15. I think your clock's a little bit fast then, so that's perfect.
What's that one up there?
Yeah.
Right. But that's actually Danny Nash, one of my mates. That was his mum's clock. And
it is a good little
his
clock.